Very good evening to you, my lovely viewers. This is Married Through the Lens of Men, and my name is Elder Jacob. I know it's very cold and it's getting darker, and today we are privileged. We thank God that we are alive. God has given us all it takes to see another glory of His again. The program's aim is that we will grow in love and continue to flourish in what God has given to us, which is marriage. Today, as we've been doing, we will be learning and unlearning. That is what I always say. We unlearn what we know that is not helping the marriage relationship to grow, and we learn the things through biblical teachings, what will help us to grow in marriage. Today, we'll be focusing on the conversational needs of women. Last week, we started that series. We are looking, first of all, at the 5 needs of women. And then later on, we will be looking at the 5 needs of men, also from the Bible point of view. I started with the women's one because men as we are, we know, because the focus is on men, and men as we are, we know our needs. But then, because we want to grow in love, we want to grow in the relationship called marriage, we want to also learn what our women needs are. So last week we started with the affection, the needs. You remember, if you are not in tune with the series that we are going through, please go back to our last week video and then check. Last week we dealt with the women first of the women's need, that is called affection, and we elaborated a lot in it. This week we are looking at the conversational need of a woman, and we want to read something from the Bible. 1 Peter 3 and verse 7. I'm reading it from the King James Version. 1 Peter 3 verse 7. It says, "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered." All right. So 1 Peter 3 verse 7. Husbands, dwell with them, talking about our wives. In the early chapters, it was an advice for women. So in the verse 7 of 1 Peter 3, Peter is saying that, likewise, husbands, we should dwell with them, which is our wives, according to knowledge, giving honor unto wives as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together of the grace of life, so that our prayers will not be hindered. So you read about this and you realize that we husbands, we men, we are to live with our women according to knowledge. According to knowledge. So you ask yourself, what is knowledge? What is this knowledge that the writer Peter was talking about? So we want to look at knowledge in its simplest form, and then we will look at the knowledge in the context of what the writer is writing about, and then we will see how it is that we should as men live with our women. So what is knowledge? Knowledge simply means, in simple terms, are facts, knowledge and skills that is acquired through experience or education. That is knowledge. Or the awareness that is gained by experience of a fact or a situation. So knowledge is what you get, the experience that you get the information that you get, the facts that you get, the skill that you get through experience. So it is through experience or a situation. And that is the basics that we will be we're using to talk about tonight. Now, in the context of what Paul was writing about, we should live with our women. We should live with them. We should consider them. We should live with them, showing consideration for the fact that they are physically a weaker vessel. I am not saying it is the emphasis on the fact that physically, by and large, not all of it, not every woman, of course, is weaker, but by and large, comparing, women are weaker vessels physically. So the writer is saying that we should live with them according to this knowledge. We should live with our women according with the consideration of the knowledge of the fact that they are physically a weaker vessels. Two, we should live with them. We should live with our women with the knowledge and the consideration that we are co-heirs. We are co-heirs. We are co-heirs. And three, we should live with them with the consideration and the knowledge that we are equally, husband and wife, we are equally valued by God. And also, this is what I add to it, that we should live with the consideration and the knowledge that, you see, you need a partner to form a solid team to achieve any success. So if you know that you need a partner, God equally values them, we are co-heirs to the God our Father, and living with the consideration that women are physical weak vessels. If we have this knowledge and we at the back of our heads dealing with our wives, then we will walk with them in grace. We will walk with them in grace. So that is the knowledge. Now, you cannot live with a person and know the person without having a conversation with the person. Yes, you can stand somewhere and observe somebody. You can watch somebody, but to get to know somebody, to have a knowledge about somebody, which the Bible or which Peter entreats us that we should live with our women according to knowledge, getting to know them, then there is a need to talk. The more you talk, the more you are able to know. The more you talk, the more you are able to investigate. The more you talk, the more you are able to understand and appreciate where the other half is coming from. So it is important that we engage ourselves in talking, in conversation. I always say that, you see, these needs that I'm talking about, they are quite different from most men by and large. It is not natural with men. That is why we need to learn. Last week I said, you see, showing affection is not natural with men. Having a conversation, talking, is not natural with men. That is why we need to always learn so that we will improve the relationship. Now, I always ask myself, why do women, if you try to do the math, by and large, women talk a lot. I am not trying to be offensive or anything of the sort to women, but anywhere you go, you see that women talk more. And I don't know, but scientists have done a research that they have come out to show that there is a protein hormone in humans called the FOXP2. The FOXP2 is a language hormone, and it is found more in women than in men. And so it is not surprising that according to that research, a woman releases about 20,000 words a day, whilst a man talks or releases or speaks 5,000 to 7,000 words a day. So when you do the math, by and large, according to the research, women talk 13,000 words more than men. And so that is how the brain is. That is how they are, by and large. I'm not saying every woman, but most women, by and large. So what does it mean? For me, it means that if we do not allow them, if we do not give them that environment, that space to release those hormones, it will come to a point where it will be like an explosion, because the words needs to come out and there is nobody to release those words to. So it will come as an explosion in a form of frustration, in a form of anger, in a form of depression and stress. So men, it is important that we learn to accept that our women need to talk a lot to release that kind of hormone or protein hormone that it is in them. It is that hormone in them that will make them want to talk more. Practically, I have like a boy and a girl in my house, and I have noticed it. Maybe you have also noticed it, that girls can talk endlessly. They can talk and talk and talk and talk, just as, not being offensive, like your wife can talk like you. It is the hormone, the protein that is in them that makes them want to express and release these kind of hormones most of the time. Now, like I've said, it is very important. It is very important that we allow them, give them the space to be able to, talk more. Now, women wants to talk more about their feelings. And like I'll always say, it is not like men to be talking about their feelings. And in any case, from early childhood, men are advised to sort of suppress their emotions. Like back in various cultures, men are not allowed to but men are encouraged to not show emotions. Like even if they are hurting, they should man up. You understand? Man up and don't cry, show emotions. But women are kind of expressive, let me put it that way. They talk a lot, and that has been the trend. And also, you see, men have been trained and brought up to be solution oriented. And so even when we're growing up, you see that when you were offered a toy, or a chance came for your parents to buy you something, a gift, they will buy you manly stuff. And so you can ask you ask, for instance, if anybody asks a man, how are you feeling? It is difficult for a man to tell you exactly how he is feeling, but ask a woman, how do you feel? And it's like you've opened the floodgate of conversation. It goes on endlessly. So you see, women always want to talk about their emotions. Women want to talk about their feelings. Unlike men, we don't want to talk about, emotions and feelings. Men talk about solution-oriented stuff. When we as men we meet, we talk about things that are productive, things that are bring solutions. But women will want to talk about emotional They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about their feelings and those kind of things. So as men, we must learn that. Now, how do we help our women to release these things? How do we help them? We should try and give our women our undivided attention. It is. We are learning these things that I'm saying, just like Jesus saying that the teachings that he is teaching, they are hard teachings. It is not a light teaching. These are hard teachings. We should give our women our undivided attention. Now, when I say undivided attention, what do I mean? Now, according to some researchers, for a marriage or for a relationship to flourish, couples are to have at least 15 or 10 to 15 hours a week of undivided attention. And the first time I read it, I said 15 hours a week. 15 hours a week, more like 2 hours a day or more of an undivided attention. Is that possible? I was asking myself. And you see, what clicked was that, I mean, going back to the days when you found your wife to be and you were in a sort of courtship or dating, I remember personally that I think I was doing more than 2.5 hours a day of conversation with my now wife. And I hope you get it. You see, when you are dating, you find every opportunity and every time to have a conversation with your will-be wife. You talk. There are no particular things you talk about, but you always want to talk. And I don't think marriage should be so different from when we were dating. We should find something. We should be interested in talking to our wives. We should be interested in talking to our partners in that way. And it should not just be a talking, but it should be an undivided attention. And I need to improve myself. See, I know when you come back from work, you are tired, you are worn out, or the last thing you need is to talk or have a conversation for 2 hours, 1 hour. No, that is not what I'm talking about. I mean, in the course of the week, you could make about 30 minutes to talk, and then at the weekends or when you both have a day off, you can make up a lot of time to talk. But within that period where you are talking, that is not a time that your mind will be somewhere. I mean, let me give you a practical example. When you are talking, it should be something that you concentrate. Your eyes should be looking into her eyes. You should be asking her questions. You should be repeating most important things that she talks about. You should be asking how she feels. You see, that is undivided attention. I'm not talking about, for instance, the two of you watching TV together where you are so glued to the TV that you are not talking. No, you are having a conversation, talking, looking at her, concentrating on what she is saying, not interrupting her, just listening and repeating important points, asking how she feels. These are what I'm talking about undivided attention. A husband that speaks to the wife or talks to the wife or have a conversation with the wife knows the inside track to her heart. How much time do you even spend with your wife in a day? How much time do we? I won't single you out because I am part of it. I am learning myself. As I bring this to you, I learn myself. How much time do we as men speak to our wife, have a conversation? And do we even know the inside track to their heart? Do we know their favorite topics? Do we know their worries? Do we know what will make? Do we know what is really going on in their heart? You see, a man that talks or have a conversation constantly with a wife should know the inside track to her heart. I am always about how we are able to do the right thing. And I am not blaming you. I am not saying you haven't done well up until now. But you see, we want to grow in love. We want to grow in relationship. So as men, how do we turn the table around? How do we meet the needs of our women? Remember, talking is part of them, and we have to allow it. Now, let us choose. One way to help do it is to choose a common interest that will draw the two of you together in a natural conversation. Choose a common interest that will draw the two of you together in a natural conversation. What I mean is that, you see, there should be an overlap with your interests, so that when you are talking, it will be a natural, effortless conversation. When I mean overlap, I'm not saying that you should not have your interest. Yes, you should have your interest, and your wife should have an interest, because we are individuals. But there should be an overlap. There should be an overlap of our interests. And so we as men should try our possible best to pursue the interest of our wives. For instance, if your wife likes, what do I call it, watching soaps, it will not be wrong to also kind of adjust yourself to watching soap series. If your wife likes gardening or food cooking, I don't see anything so much of an effort to try and learn the act of cooking or act of gardening. Ask questions, so that when there is a time for conversation, there can be a bridge. Let's look at this. For instance, you like politics and your wife does not like politics. The two of you have nothing in common or interest to talk about. What do you think will be like when the two of you sit down to have a chat? You are talking about politics. The person has got no interest whatsoever in politics. You are talking about football. The person has got no interest whatsoever in football. So what are you going to? And then you spend most of your time on football, or you spend most of your time in politics. What will happen is that it will drift the two of you further and further and further apart. And that is not what we want. We want to be closer. So we should pursue common interests. You can have yours interests. I know you are an individual, you have your interests. But for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of marriage, you also have an interest. Pursue the interest of that of your wife, so that when you are talking, there can be a common grounds to talk about in a relationship. And to find things that overlap to make your marriage easier. Find things that overlap to make your marriage easier. It is marriage, I say, it is hard work. Marriage is hard work. You have to put in the effort. Marriage is very hard work. You have to put in the effort. Here is what we want to talk about. Now, there are so many things that I've jotted down that we want to talk about this evening regarding what we can do to improve our marriage conversational needs, especially when it comes to dealing with our wife. Now, first and foremost, you should not allow your financial consideration to override your conversational need of your spouse. What do I mean by this? Now, most of us, a lot of us, because of our financial considerations. For instance, because we are working, because we need money, because we are working overtime. We don't even consider spending quality time. Because I have to work. We don't consider if it is a day or night shift. But what I am suggesting is that financial consideration should not come into the way of spending quality time with your spouse, especially in conversation. So it is not because of night shift, because of more money, because you want to pay this and pay that, because of money that you ignore. And so it is important, it's very, very important that we don't allow financial considerations to come into the way of our conversations. In our conversation, let us learn to balance the conversation. Let us not interrupt each other. Let us learn not to interrupt each other. Let us also learn to balance it. You see, when you give your other half 30 minutes or 5 minutes to talk, I mean, you don't talk more than that 5 minutes. Give them that chance to also say what they want to say. And let our conversation, use the conversation to inform, use the conversation to investigate, use the conversation to understand each other. Conversation, very, very important. Now, occasionally you hear you hear women say that men do not talk. And often you hear some say that their men do not even listen. Occasionally that is what you hear. Men do not talk and they don't listen. So instead of, on focusing on what you are going to say in a conversation as a man, you should instead make it safe for the woman to talk more. You see, women are complaining. Most women complain. Their men do not talk. Fine. But even others are complaining that their men do not also listen. And so, as men, we need to learn in a conversation with your wife, make it a point that instead of going to talk, you are going to make it a point to listen more. Your focus is to listen and allow your woman to talk more. Your focus is to listen and allow your woman to talk more. Yes, that is what I said. Now, why do I say that? Because women need to talk more in a conversation to feel attractive. When you rather, as a man, talks more than your wife or your woman, it sabotages the romance. The how she feels, it kind of sabotages her. And you see, a woman's ability to feel interest in you requires that you know what she knows, that you provide her something that she needs, and what she needs is that listening ear. What she needs is that she will trust you to open up. What she needs is a man that sees her. What she needs is a man that hears her. What she needs is a man that feels affection for her. And that is what a woman needs. So be prepared to see her. Be prepared to hear her. Be prepared to feel affection for her. Most importantly, it makes her feel safe when she's talking and you are listening. It allows her to also open up and develop a feeling that will lead to a very close relationship. And I am saying that process starts when you allow a woman to talk more and for you also to listen. So how do you encourage or make sure that your wife feels safe, feel trusted enough to open up to you? First of all, you might be mindful of the fact that you don't talk more, and you must be intentional to speak less. You must be careful not to talk more than her and be intentional to speak less. If you notice that you are talking more in a conversation with your wife, pause, ask her questions. So questions like, to encourage her to talk more so that she feels okay. Questions like, help me to understand that better. She make a statement and you ask her, help me to understand this better. You ask me, tell me more about what you are saying and what has your experience been. You ask your wife, what has your experience been with what you are telling me? And then sometimes you ask your wife, how in a conversation, how did you feel about it when that happened? What else that is interesting? Whatever way that you would do to kind of make her talk more, let her talk more. Allow your wife to talk more and be prepared to listen. It's hard. That is why we are praying for grace to be able to do that. The truth is that what our women want is that we will allow them to express themselves more, to feel safe, to express themselves more, talk more, and have somebody that is ready to hear her, see her, and make her express her point of view. So it is important that as men we learn these things. What we don't have to be doing is to correct our wife most of the time. You see, if we are constantly showing our wives or our women that they are wrong, they are in the wrong, constantly telling them what is wrong with them, it kind of makes conversation a little bit difficult. Now, it is not like you have to suppress yourself. You just have to make sure you are not suppressing her. I'm saying that if you are constantly, telling her what she is doing wrong, what she said wrong, what she did wrong, then she is not going to feel safe to express her point of view. And I'm not saying suppress yourself, but I'm saying that don't suppress her. You can have a different point of view and express it by saying that you have a different view about what she is saying. And if you share it without the tendency to try to correct her. So like I'm saying, ask more questions so she talks more. Avoid the urge to correct her. Consciously express your own point of view without putting her down. Then you are well on your way to nailing a conversation that will help you grow in your love. Now, when she is expressing herself, it is important also that you let her pause a bit so that you can, reflect and ask questions. Consider what she's saying. Think about it. Think about experience. Show some curiosity. That is what I mean. So you want to ask her what she feels, what she thinks, what she wants, what her wishes are, what she likes. So many of them. Ask her questions. Your genuine curiosity and interest help a woman feel safe and begins to open up. This will increase her desire to spend time with you or have a conversation with you. And always keep in mind that women need to share more to feel greater attraction to a man. But if a man keeps trying to solve her problems, correct her ideas, or point out where she is right or wrong, that will only turn her off. So all too soon we've come to another great edition of the Married Through the Lens of Men. And today we've been talking about the conversational needs of a woman. What I've said is that I want to summarize it so that we will be able to catch one or two things and then we go. What I've said is that we should be able as men to give our women the space, give them the environment to be able to talk to us. And we must not, you see, as some are not talking, so you see that some of us are not listening as men. And so what we are recommending is that we will have a listening ear. We will listen more to them. We will allow our women to talk, but not just allowing them to talk, but we will give them an undivided attention. Whilst we are giving them an undivided attention, what we mean is that we will be curious about what they are saying. Curiosity in asking them how they feel, how they think, how they like, what their desires are. I mean, when a woman knows that you see her, you hear her, you feel, you make her feel affection, then it opens her up also into a much better relationship. So as men, I know these things, I always say that these things are not natural to us as men, because men want to just share jokes, talk about solution, provision oriented conversation, bam bam bam, and then we go. But men don't really want to talk about themselves and don't want to talk about emotional and feeling stuff. But that is what women do. They want to talk about their emotions, they want to talk about their feelings. And so we should give them that room to be able to do that. So, okay. So until next time we meet again, remember the two things that we've talked about. First, we should show affection. We should cherish our women. We should show love. We should be kind to them. And the second thing is that we should make time, undivided attention. Make time. We have to get to know them. And we can only get to know our women when we have a lot of conversation with them, when we have a lot of undivided, real communication with them, and nothing. It is not money, it is not children, nothing should, come in the way of having a proper conversation with your spouse. And it is important that we set aside time in the course of the day, in the course of the week, to really have a communication with our spouses. You see, one of the most difficult things in marriage is when we are not talking. You see, talking, like the Apostle Peter says, leads to knowledge and it leads to better living. So when we are not talking, and I find it, I don't know what the problem has been, but it is we don't see most couples do not really have a proper conversation. You see, the time that you see couples talking is when, unfortunately, we are arguing. When we are angry, that is when we have like a talking. But today we are talking about having a proper conversation, having a conversation that is a need of a woman, One of the first commandments of marriage is selflessness. If you base your relationship on the needs of your spouse, you will surely find happiness. And if you truly love your wife, then you will want to make her happy. Women like to talk. I don't know, I don't believe this is a shocker. It is actually a basic and binding way for them to express themselves. And if you have children, your wife may just need some adult conversation. When you tune out, it makes women feel like you don't care about them. And women, when they ramble, men tend to tune out. Strong relationships are built on deep and meaningful conversation. Real conversation, I mean. So if your wife says she wants to talk, turn off the TV, put down your phone, and open up your ears. My name is Elder Jacob, and until we meet again, this has been Married Through the Lens of Men, and I wish that you will grow in love. Bye.